So, hi folks, welcome to Life Ready, Work Ready. So, for the last couple of weeks, we've been planning a session, a few different sessions of CPD. So, a little bit more about all of the fantastic work that's going on with employers and the sectors within our region. And so today is our first session, and we're going to be kicking off with Katie Snell. So, as you can see there, Innovation and Sector Coordinator with us here at New Anglia Local Enterprise Partnership. She's going to give you an overview of what we do at the LEP, our key growth sectors, and tell you a little bit more. So I won't steal all of her thunder. So Katie, over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to speak at this conference. As you just said, my name is Katie Snell, and I'm the Sector Innovation and Sector Coordinator for New Anglia LEP. And just to give you a little bit of background, so the LEP is a partnership of business, local authority and education leaders, which is sort of backed up by a full-time executive team. And it's working to grow our economy, create jobs and improve productivity here in the East. Sorry, technical difficulty. My role in LEP is to work across Norfolk and Suffolk's key sectors and to really drive productivity and unlock barriers to growth and enable the right conditions for innovation. And I'm really fortunate that my role enables me to work across many fascinating sectors and working with lots of inspiring individuals and learning about the different roles that exist within them. And I'm delighted really to be here today and to hopefully share with some insight with you on some of the key growth areas of Norfolk and Suffolk's economy and the sorts of roles that exist within them. So in 2017, New Anglia LEP published the Economic Strategy for Norfolk and Suffolk, which outlines our ambitions in the region. In June last year, a Restart Recovery Plan was published in support of recovery of the pandemic, and this plan continues to evolve as we continue to move through this challenging time. And the LEP recently launched Norfolk and Suffolk Unlimited, a brand which showcases our clusters of fast-growing, knowledge-intensive businesses and supportive networks, as well as the great talent pool and quality of life here. And this initiative is being supported by an ongoing marketing campaign and is designed to encourage businesses to invest here. The Norfolk and Suffolk's economic strategy reflects the evolving needs and opportunities of our growing local economy and how it can respond and succeed in a fast-changing environment. And our local industrial strategy is the next stage in the evolution and implementation of that, and will guide much of our work in driving up skills and encouraging and inspiring talent. Norfolk and Suffolk has a diverse and growing population. Employment levels are higher than in the UK than average, and the area is a desirable place to live. And quality of life is consistently ahead of the national trend, with a growing population and consistent net inflow of people of all ages, including families and skilled professionals. It includes 3 universities which have attracted talent and ambitious people each year. And Norfolk and Suffolk is a large area with many residents commuting within 2 counties to its urban centres, as well as to Cambridge, London, Essex, and particularly from the west of Suffolk. And we have a growing older population, with 23.5% aged over 65 compared to 18.2% within the UK. And this is economically active if older population with the potential to make a huge contribution. We have a lower than average skills base, with gaps concentrated in digital and technical skills and work experience as well, and readiness among the key reasons for unfilled vacancies. The take-up of apprenticeships is higher than both the national and wider East of England average. And apprenticeship starts for all ages in Norfolk and Suffolk has more than doubled over the last decade. Most of these apprenticeships are either intermediate or at advanced level. And 7% of all school leavers entered into an apprenticeship compared with 6% nationally, highlighting their slightly higher appeal and density locally. We have seen a dip in figures recently, locally and nationally, and we're working with colleges to address this. However, West Suffolk College continues to be one of the country's leading apprenticeship providers, with apprenticeship results consistently remained above the national average for the past 6 years. And it is also in the top 3 colleges in the country. Key stage 5 students, which are typically 16 to 18-year-olds in Norfolk and Suffolk, sustaining an education or an employment destination has increased from 63.7% in 2009/10 to 89% in 2016/17. Much of this is driven by an increase in students moving into sustained employment, up from 7.9% in 2009/10 to 29% in 2016/17. So employment levels in the region are high, but there are inclusive growth challenges around low wages. Median full-time wages for residents and those working in the area are £516 compared to £569 nationally, and 26.8% of the jobs are below the real living wage compared to 22.8% nationally. So Norfolk and Suffolk has unlimited potential, and it has a population that is projected to grow by 11% by 2038. Between 2001 and 2011, the population with a level 4 qualification or above increased from 16% to 23%. And workforce job numbers increased by 50,000, that's 7%, between 2010 and 2015. Growth in median annual wages 2014 to 2016 was above the national average. However, there are challenges that we need to overcome. And we have, for example, we have a working age population, 16 to 24, that is set to remain roughly the same size. That's 968,000 people over the next 2 decades. There is a net loss of nearly 12,000 people with level 4 qualification or above on an average workday. There are more jobs to be filled now than ever between now and 2024, and that this is really due to people leaving the workforce. And median wages are 91% residents and 89% workplace of national rates. So the economic strategy identifies the sectors which are key to Norfolk and Suffolk, and high growth sectors such as digital, tech, energy and agri-food are some of the main ones. And alongside these, we've had underpinning sectors which cut across and support the whole economy and employ lots of people. Sectors such as manufacturing and engineering, culture, tourism and ports and logistics, as well as the important financial services sector which employs. And this table really shows the region's key sectors in terms of gross value added, which is how we measure the contribution to the economy of an individual producer, industry, sector or region, and is used in the calculation of gross domestic product. It also shows how many people in each sector employs, as well as how productive these jobs are. And this is measured by calculating the GVA per job. And it's really interesting to see the sectors profiled in this way, as it shows some interesting things. For example, we have some really big sectors by employment, which is the economy as the largest at 89,000 jobs. Manufacturing and engineering is a close second with 84.5k, and agri-food following close behind. So it gets interesting when you start to look at the value that these sectors bring to the economy, and with manufacturing and engineering in front with 5.1 billion, agri-food next at 3.6 billion, construction at 3.2, and a clutch of others around 2-ish. And again, this is really interesting when we take productivity of each job into account, as energy is way out in front with 120k per job, more technical jobs in finance. Life sciences are also scoring highly, with the visitor economy and health and social care being lower. So really, I think we have to say, what does this tell us? So it helps us to know which sectors add most value to the economy and which will help our economy to grow. And it also tells us how important some of the larger sectors are, that they employ such large numbers of people in Norfolk and Suffolk, and that they also might be considered to have lower productivity given their size, but with the right support and interventions could add value to our economy. One example of this is the tourism and visitor economy sector. And we've been working with partners to develop a tourism action plan with specific actions of how to raise productivity in the sector. And as you can imagine, skills development will play a large role in this, but so will other things such as the adoption of new technologies, ensuring businesses have the right support. So driving up skills and high quality employment is absolutely fundamental to the LEP's goals to create a more inclusive economy with improving wage levels, living standards and attainment. And we want to really raise the support and attainment across all ages and help our young people set their ambitions high and understand the exciting careers available to them where they live. And our youth pledge is for every young person, so that's 16 to 24 in Norfolk and Suffolk, to get the personal support they need and to get an apprenticeship, training, work experience or job within 3 months of leaving education or employment. So inspiring and preparing young people for the fast changing world of work is critical to driving the supply of the future workforce. And it is through facilitating collaboration between schools and businesses through Norfolk and Suffolk to deliver inspiring career strategies that will prepare the next generation of workers. Businesses in Norfolk and Suffolk engage with their young people, with 21% of employers locally having offered some kind of work inspiration, which is the top performing areas in the country. Norfolk and Suffolk Skills Advisory Panel brings together employers, skills providers and local government to pool knowledge on skills and labour, market needs and maximise opportunities, such as large concentration of upcoming nationally significant infrastructure projects across the area. And they might include the Digitech Centre at BT's Industrial Park, which has received the blessing from the Princess Royal on a recent visit. And this facility will provide a cutting-edge digital skills for people looking to pursue careers in the nationally important information and communications technology sector, as well as fueling high-tech businesses who increasingly require access to talented technology workforce. In addition to that, we have the Digitech Centre at City College, Norwich, and this is to receive more than £6 million of funding from the LEP. And it will serve a range of digital industries from creative media, software and programming, network skills, infrastructure, electronics and automated manufacturing. And also we've invested 4.5 million in the Institute of Productivity at the University of East Anglia, which will support businesses in our region by enabling them to work alongside our world-class researchers, and students will discover practical solutions to current and future challenges. Students, academics and businesses will be able to explore together new ideas to develop prototype designs and create innovative products and services. And last year, the Energy Skills Centre was unveiled at East Coast College's campus in Lowestoft, and the LEP invested £10 million in this Centre of Excellence, which will help to develop higher level technical skills and professional expertise, specifically in energy, engineering, maritime and offshore industries. And lastly, in addition, the STEM Innovation Centre at West Suffolk received £7 million investment from the LEP. So with our universities and colleges, we have created skills plans for each key sectors to respond to what is a rapidly changing workplace and world. And these are energy, digital tech, life sciences and bioeconomy, agri-food, construction, advanced manufacturing and engineering, as well as financial services and the visitor economy, ports and logistics, health and social care, emerging technologies, clean energy, creative industries, learning and skills. And they are really valuable source of information on labour market information for our sectors, predictions on the way these sectors will evolve over time. So looking to the future, we have developed a local industrial strategy, which is the next stage in the evolution and implementation of the Norfolk and Suffolk economic strategy. And we want to use it to focus on these strategic opportunities, which will offer the greatest scope for our communities, people and firms to benefit from, whilst driving productivity and future growth. And you will see from this side how we are intending to build on the vision, priorities and opportunities identified in the economic strategy, together with the grand challenges and productivity approach set out in the National Industrial Strategy. And the aim is to then focus on these opportunities where we'll have the greatest distinctive strengths. agri-food, agri-tech, and Norfolk and Suffolk is the most productive farming region in the UK and acts as a breadbasket for the UK, hosting many national and internationally significant food and drink companies which specialise in a wide range of food production and processing. You have clean energy. We are the only place in the UK where all forms of resource extraction and energy generation exist together, including expertise on microgeneration, growing local energy networks, as well as novel and storage technologies. ICT and digital, the practical application of quantum technologies has been clearly demonstrated as a clear competitive advantage at Industrial Park, alongside numerous world-leading innovations across the ICT spectrum. So clean growth is the golden thread running through the Norfolk and Suffolk local industrial strategy, with a narrative around strategic opportunities and foundations of productivity contributing to this overall ambition. And Norfolk and Suffolk's key strengths and assets make it the well placed to be at the forefront of clean growth revolution. As the UK's leading producer of renewable and low carbon energy and significant producer of low carbon goods and services, as a test bed for innovation in industries such as farming and food production, transportation and construction, which needs to reduce their carbon footprint and adapt to a changing climate. As an area with outstanding natural environment and natural resources, which are particularly vulnerable to climate change, but where innovation, new mitigation measures and technologies are being pioneered. As an area with a wealth of world-class innovation and thinking and exportable skills, along with many award-winning businesses that are on the leading edge of a low-carbon future. In March 2019, New Anglia LEP commissioned the University of East Anglia to undertake a climate change adaptation and carbon reduction scoping report. And this was taken to the LEP board in July, calling for an action plan to tackle some of the report's key findings and identify how Norfolk and Suffolk will contribute to the amended target of net zero greenhouse gases by 2050. And this important work is covered in the local industrial strategy. And we need to reduce from 5.7 and 5.6 tonnes per capita in Norfolk and Suffolk respectively to 1.7 if we are going to achieve the Paris Agreement, let alone the cuts required to meet net zero target by 2050. So what about these strategic sectors and what do they mean in terms of employment opportunities? So here's some key statistics. Over 600 businesses, mainly specialising in offshore wind, gas and nuclear, are in our area, and this contributes to 1.4 billion to the economy. 12,000 jobs with thousands more employed in the wider supply chain. GVA per job is 119,200. Bacton Gas Terminal and the network of offshore gas platforms supplies over a third of the UK's low carbon transition fuel. The planned investment in offshore wind and nuclear power alone will produce enough energy power than more than 58% of the UK's homes. And offshore wind farms in operation and development will meet half of the offshore wind sector deal's 30 gigawatt target by 2030, with further capacity in the pipeline. And the UK's highest concentration of offshore wind farms, that's 52% of the UK's operating fleet. Size of opportunity at 59.4 billion, capital investment in offshore energy and engineering by 2040, and exporting 193 million. So there are many there are many different and varied roles in the energy sector, and really I'm quite amazed when I meet people from the sector as they contribute to a range of backgrounds and skill sets, from ecologists, planners, project managers to engineers, communication professionals, business developers, and even helicopter pilots. And one example is to be a wind turbine technician. So what skills do you need to work in this sector? So you'll have the ability to use and repair and maintain machines, tools, knowledge of engineering, science and technology, problem-solving skills, to be thorough and pay attention to detail, the ability to repair machines or systems, knowledge of computer operating systems, hardware and software, knowledge of maths, the ability to work well with others, to be able to use a computer and main software packages competently. And your day-to-day duties may include installing wind turbine towers on land or at sea, fitting electrical, mechanical and hydraulic equipment, testing turbine blades and control systems, carrying out planned maintenance work, finding faults and fixing them, recording job details and filling in safety reports and running safety checks on electrical substations and cables. So we move on to now the agri-food sector, and the key statistics around those are that we have the largest agri-food output of any LEP area at 3.5 billion, 79,000 jobs, 8,300 businesses, and output per job is high at 44,900, making it a productive sector. And despite accounting for only 2% of the UK's population and 4% of the UK's land mass, Norfolk and Suffolk represents 11% of its agricultural output, which is more than any other LEP area. 12% of the UK's cereals, 16.6% of the UK's fruit and vegetables, and 22.7% of the UK's pigs, and 17% of UK poultry. So we have exporting at 569 million, and highly specialised subcontractors within agri-food. 60% of sugar production in the UK takes place in Norfolk and Suffolk. The manufacture of malt, beers, ciders is 5 times more concentrated in other areas than the rest of the UK. And other highly specialised subsectors include tractors and farm machinery, fertilisers, pesticides, and other agrochemicals and condiments and seasonings. So what does this sector take in terms of skills and knowledge? Generally, it's maths, knowledge of engineering, science and technology, design skills and knowledge of physics, to be thorough and pay attention to detail, excellent communication and verbal skills, analytical thinking skills, knowledge of the computer operating systems, hardware and software, and to be able to carry out basic tasks on a computer or handheld device. And your day-to-day duties may include assessing the environment impact of agricultural production methods, supervising construction projects like land drainage, reclamation and irrigation, solving engineering problems like designing all-terrain vehicles to move over uneven ground in different weather conditions, testing and installing new equipment like harvesters, crop sprayers and logging machinery using GPS, weather data and computer modelling to advise farmers and businesses on land, planning service and repair programmes for machinery. So it's quite a varied bit of skill required there. We move on to the ICT digital sector. So we'll give you some facts about this. So it's 1.4 billion contribution to the UK PLC, a workforce of 23,400, GVA per job 59,100, a further 35,000 digital technologies and engineers active in the company's other local sectors, 10,000 tech roles and vacancies to be filled by 2024 and exporting at 293 million. Again, what skills and knowledge are required? So really the ability to be able to work well with others, excellent verbal and communication skills, analytical thinking, to be thorough and pay attention, customer service skills, to be flexible and open to change, and the ability to accept criticism and work well under pressure, the ability to use your judgment and make decisions, and to be able to use the computer and main software packages confidently. And your day-to-day may include getting details from customers about their IT problems, finding and fixing faults, tracking work in progress and recording issues and solutions, updating online knowledge banks, servicing equipment like printers, projectors and IT networks, and setting up new equipment and upgrading existing systems, training new people and face-to-face and online. So really, I think that just gives you a bit of an overview of what we do within the LEP, but also how we work with our sectors in understanding exactly how what opportunities there are, and how much they are sort of are high growth sectors. Yeah, that's me done. So thank you very much.
Katie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and I know you're sticking around to join the Q&A as well. However, next we've got Robert Leeman. So Robert's going to be talking to us a little bit more about his work at ARM. He's the Education Solutions Manager. So let's welcome Robert to hear a little bit more about all of the fantastic work he's been doing at ARM.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me to talk about what we do at ARM, and specifically in the ARM School Programme. Now, hopefully you can see my slides. So I'll get started. What is ARM? So for those of you that don't know, ARM is a tech company based in Cambridge, and we essentially design intellectual property around CPU architecture. So central processing units are the brains of the computers and smartphones and the like. And this is we're a global company. We have offices all over the world. Yes, you've probably got several of them in your, either using one right now to access this meeting, or there's probably several in your home. So that's what ARM do essentially. It's an IP company that designs technology. Now, there's also lots of other underlying technology that sits underneath that, sort of the graphics processors and the like, and security, and that links into other areas such as the fifth wave of computing, which is around things like IoT, robotics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all those sorts of things. So all these really sort of cutting edge technologies that exist and are powered by ARM. For example, one of the world's most powerful computers was recently powered by ARM technology. So in simplest terms, the ARM started back in the very olden days in terms of technology, back in the 90s with the Acorn computer, which was powered by an ARM chip, and was a sort of a joint venture with Apple and ARM. And then it later on was fueled, it's pushed forward a mobile technology through smartphones, and now it's in pretty much everything. So that's pretty much where ARM is. It's sort of the invisible technology, and you'd be forgiven for not knowing or having heard of ARM before, but essentially it's the technology that powers everything from automation, robotics, cars, smartwatches, the lot. It's absolutely everywhere. But as I say, it's probably best known, and especially if you're talking to learners and students, for its role in mobile phone platforms and everything that's powers the connectivity, the screens, the location tracking, the actual processor itself, all of that sort of stuff. It's all ARM based. So really, it's a really important fundamental technology in terms of comms, and especially with our current working from home situation. The communication technology is incredibly important, and something that all students and teachers and educators will be very, very familiar with. So thinking about, so that's what ARM is, and that's the sort of technology that ARM works with. Moving on to sort of careers. Now, careers is a really, really interesting topic in the technology sector, especially around the difficulty in trying to recruit the right sort of people into the right sort of roles. Now, ARM struggles continually, and always has struggled to recruit sort of top tier talent in the technology space in every single sector, not just in sort of CPU design, but everything from marketing, comms, IT, all of the typical things that you need to make a business function. And there's a real skills shortage, and that's partly due to lack of graduates, people not being interested in a career in that. And then also there's a very much a vacuum locally with other tech companies, especially in Cambridge. You know, we've got Microsoft Research, etc., that also are competing. So there's lots and lots of ways that we try to seek recruits and get people in as early as possible. Typically, or historically at least, it used to be post-grad. So a lot of the sort of CPU design and technology folk would be people that would be doing sort of research and the like, but we've started to move down the education ecosystem now and started to do undergraduate part-time internships, as well as more formal internships, and we use an awful lot of those. In fact, half of our education development team are interns that we sort of snag from universities for a year and to come and work with us and write material and the like. And we also take people straight out to university, obviously, and there's an awful lot of opportunities there. And something which is probably more relevant to this audience is the new apprenticeship scheme, which we are just about to launch on arm.com now. You can see some details there, but essentially it's sort of post 18. So when they finish their T levels or A levels and an equivalent, they can come and join us in various different sectors. This was trialed previously with our IT teams, which was very successful, and that's being spread out more now across the rest of the business. But this so the pipeline getting into ARM is very, very open, and we're always looking at new ways to sort of try and recruit skilled people with an interest in technology, and that can be obviously everything from drones to robots and all the rest of it. There's an awful lot of things that can be done. I work in the school program. Now, the school program was set up 3 years ago now to sort of really seed that pipeline of talent into ARM, much, again, even further down. And we deal with the entire K-12 spectrum, so all the way from primary school through to upper A level. And we do that through engaging with various educational institutions. We work very closely with Computing at School, with the British Computer Society, with the National Centre for Computing Education, Royal Society, and a myriad of other educational partners to try and influence the sort of the tech agenda, and try to provide resources to teachers directly, as well as training CPD around technology and how to teach using technology, which I'll get onto in just a few minutes, but also trying to look at curriculum reform and try to solve the dwindling numbers taking on subjects at GCSE and A-level, such as computer science. In a previous life, I worked for the exam boards. I worked for OCR during the reforms in 2015 of the GCSE computer science, and the numbers that were taking IT compared to computer science steadily dipped, with ICT obviously being removed off of the curriculum. So whilst you hear ministers and anybody interested in technology saying we need to do more and more STEM, and particularly computer science, the numbers taking it are slowly shrinking, which is a real shame, and will not help the employment opportunities with technology companies. Less and less people are taking these subjects. So we take an approach of engaging with schools directly, engaging with educational institutions, and really trying to figure out what the problems are with centres delivering these sorts of qualifications, and trying to make it as seamless as possible through providing technology, providing, again, training and resources and those sorts of things. But there are, if people are actively involved in apprenticeships and recruitments and want to shove their students down these sorts of paths, then please do check out arm.com, specifically the early careers section of the website, where there's lots and lots of opportunities there. So that's the sort of the how to get into sort of formal education. There's also lots of other engagements for secondary schools. For example, we run a work experience program, which is yearly, and I know that's going to be growing next year. It was going to grow much bigger. We're going to run it continually all year this year, but obviously the pandemic put a stop to that. Yes, do check out the work experience program, and this is for typically year 10 students and potentially year 11 students as well. And we're looking at also spreading that out to A-level students, which typically we do smaller interventions with. We work with like the industrial cadets, and we run sessions where we bring groups of students in to work on projects over the course of a week to try and solve real world problems, and we contextualize them in a way which is really, really interesting to them, into sort of solving real world problems like hunger, and applying skills like creating IoT products to solve particular problems and that sort of thing. So it's really, we do lots and lots of different versions of that, and you can see examples of those on the websites. So the ARM School program, as I mentioned before, it's trying to get more people studying computer science and trying to really get them to understand what STEM is, and as well as trying to promote an awareness of the ARM ecosystem, which is really the sort of the very, very soft driver in the background but really we're trying to get more people to teach and learn all about it. So why ARM? Why are ARM interested in this sort of thing? Partly it's to do with widening the talent pool, and also just through an interest from the exec around getting more and more people interested in technology. As society evolves and we engage with technology more, the level of skill and the demand for these skills is going to increase in an exponential fashion. And I'm sure we're all aware of people that we know, people that are not particularly savvy with technology, and that can impede efficiency in the workplace, and an awareness of technology really helps people innovate. And innovation really is at the core of all of this. For our economy to remain competitive, we need a vast dynamic base of innovative, inspirational people to create new products to help us lead the world in terms of this. And this is something that, particularly around Cambridge and various different universities, innovation is key. So we want to try and inspire young people, essentially. I think that's probably the main thing to take away from this, and let them be creative and really open the gates for them to create new products and services, and coming up with ways of being inventive using quite simple technology. You can see there in the picture, the students, so this light bulb moment and they've just worked out how to create a smart IoT-based streetlight using a microbit. And I'm sure you've probably heard of microbits in the media, but it's getting them to apply very, very quickly technology to solve problems. So these are some of the other bits that I mentioned previously, but some of the other sort of school-based activities that ARM generally and the ARM School Programme work with. So Innovation Days is from the picture from the previous slide, where we provide activities to schools and colleges, and we come along and we provide prizes and run it as essentially a competition, a bit like a collapsed timetable day. And if there are any educators in the audience that want to do these sorts of things, please do get in touch. This is something that we actively try and promote, and we provide the hardware and the like to do so. We also have teaching and learning resources that you can do it yourself. We're heavily involved in First Tech Robotics, which is a national competition creating robots to solve specific problems. So check that out if you haven't already seen it. Again, we're heavily involved in computing at school, and GLAM, which is sort of girls in leadership, as well as STEM ambassadors, obviously, and that's part of the reason why I'm here today. So how do we form our teaching and learning resources? How do we sort of engage directly with schools? We use a combination of project-based learning and physical computing. And for those teachers in the audience, you've probably come across these sorts of things before, but we've essentially put together a schema of teaching and learning resources which take a rich and engaging context, be it one of the global goals, or be it a more localized problem around, it could be, for example, like telemetry of a football player, or it could be drone technology, or it could be smart agri-tech farming, and some of the projects that we create are all linked to these different contexts. And it's got to be something that motivates and engages the student and is also realistically achievable. And then students are given a set of problems that they need to then solve, and these are called success criteria. And then the students are then encouraged to work collaboratively, although these can be done independently, to apply technology, which is the physical computing part, to solve these problems. And they're scaffolded using the resources that we provide to them. And then the teacher is then encouraged to engage and coach them throughout that process. Now, this throws up a couple of different problems, because project-based learning is a very, very different style of teaching to typical sort of didactic classroom delivery. And so we also offer CPD to teachers on how to do this effectively, because it's quite, well, it's not complex, but it's very, very different, and you have to enable the students to progress using the resources rather than sort of delivering it to them directly. So it's a slightly different way of doing things, and it can be very, very powerful if done correctly. And we've also designed these to map into the formal curriculum. Typically, when corporations get involved in education, they do sort of very PR heavy whiz-bang kind of events, and it doesn't really have any long-term, well, usually doesn't have any long-term impact. And so we've designed all of our material to be mapped to the formal curriculum, so it actually can be used to enhance and cover areas of the GCSE, and also internationally the CSTA mapping, which is more of a US-centric computer science model. And it also crosses over into other subjects as well, such as D&T. It can cover elements of engineering GCSE, as well as electronics for the handful of schools that do electronics GCSEs. It seems, unfortunately, to be falling off of the curriculum nowadays, which is very depressing. But yeah, so that's the way we do it. We try and encourage students to use low-cost technology, things like the microbit, because the barrier to entry is very, very low. Although the same techniques that they're taught here can be applied to any technology, such as Arduinos, Raspberry Pis. You may have seen recently there's a new Raspberry Pi called the Pico that's just come out, which is a new microcontroller, which I think it's like £3, which is very, very cheap for this sort of technology, and it allows students to engage and create new technologies using these sorts of super cheap, easily accessible bits of hardware. So that's the sort of an overview of our pedagogical approach. We also have teaching and learning resources, as I mentioned before. We've got a mixture of different things. The static full courses of things, such as the Introduction to Computing using Microbit, which goes through, it's aimed at sort of Key Stage 3, and there's 3 terms worth of work there. So they're in sort of sets of 12 and 24 lessons, and covers everything that you need to know around programming on using a Microbit, using the blocks. And then there's also an introduction to MicroPython, which covers all of the skills required for GCSE computer science using MicroPython on a Microbit, as well as a project book, which I encourage you to have a look at and download, which is a series of very, very friendly, sort of highly polished projects to engage and enthuse learners. And it's really good fun, and all you need is a Microbit. You don't even need a Microbit to access most of the material there, because you can use the emulator as well. We also have some quite successful YouTube channels, playlists, should I say, that is the animations and video lessons of those 2 courses, so the Intro to Computing and the Intro to Programming, and check those out on our YouTube channel, and they are very, very useful, and they also form the backbone of our sort of multimedia approach to teaching and learning. So here's an example of the MicroPet, and think of it as a bit like a Tamagotchi, and this is what we typically do with primary school kids, although it works all the way up to year 8s and above, and I've done this with my non-technical colleagues as well, and it's a really fun project. And again, you can see the Microbit is the sort of the face inside of it, and it gives you an example of the sorts of the teaching and learning materials that we create with the success criteria, and then some of the scaffolding that goes underneath it. There is other, obviously, support material that goes along with this, but that's just an example. So getting sort of more the nitty-gritty teacher focus bit of this, here's some examples of the sorts of resources that we provide. For example, lesson plans. There is an incredibly thorough lesson plan that comes with every single project. So the teacher doesn't, you can give this to a non-specialist. They don't need to plan anything. It's all there. It's got all the keywords, key concepts for numeracy and literacy as well. And there's links to all of the hardware and that sort of stuff, and AFL as well. And it's also got lots and lots of worksheets. And these are all digital and open source. So it's all fully editable. So you could take, for example, the slide decks, strip out all of our branding and put your own ones in there, for example, if you wanted to, and you can edit them to your heart's content. We're about to release these also on a OneNote, so you can stick it into your Teams implementation. If you have that, sort of roughly half the schools in the UK use Teams, half of them use Google Classrooms. And we're working with STEM Learning as well to make that available via G Suite as well. So all of this stuff is open access and freely available, and it covers the formal curriculum as well as what makes computing a bit more fun. So that's the ARM Score program in a nutshell, and that's all I've got for today. So thank you very much for listening to me talk about ARM education, and thank you very much.
Excellent, Robert. Thank you so much. And that was absolutely fascinating. We're still waiting on Rachel at the moment before we move on to the next session, but I think this gives an opportunity for folks to be able to ask any questions of our guests. I'll kick off with, before we can get a couple of questions in. But Robert, why is it so important that we are linking curriculum learning with careers so that students get an idea about the sort of things they might learn about in the future?
Well, I think the linking it to the curriculum makes it more accessible for teachers to get involved with it. Because see, I remember from being a teacher many years ago myself, is that if it didn't meet the targets of the GCSE, then you wouldn't even consider it as a resource. So it just breaks down barriers to getting teachers to use it. And if it's motivating and engaging students, and it's ticking off bits on the school curriculum, then it's a 2 birds with 1 stone situation, and it means that the resources aren't just kind of like, they're not just fun, they're also academically relevant. So that's the main reason, really, is just linking them. It just makes absolute sense. It helps drive adoption, and ultimately, if engaging with these resources and learning about technology in a fun and engaging way helps them do better in their GCSE qualifications and A-level qualifications, and then they want to go and study technology in higher education, etc. And that just helps everybody, and it helps grow that the ecosystem and also the sort of pipeline into technology careers.
Fantastic, thank you. And we just got a question from, let's go to Sophie Skip. So, Robert, what can we do to engage you in live lessons during lockdown? We're keen to work with you at UTCN in Norwich.
Okay, well, well, send me an email first of all, and I can share you the share with you the resources that we have. I don't do the live lessons myself as such, but we have lots and lots of resources that that you can use. I mean, the videos are a really good place to start. Check out them on YouTube, and we've got all of the course material available on arm.com/schools that you can plug straight into your online platform, whatever it is. It works really well with Teams, and we've got assessments that you can create quizzes on there, so it's all auto marked and it saves an awful lot of time. So that's all kind of packaged and ready to go. So yeah, just get in touch. It's yeah, feel free to reach out.
Fantastic, cheers, Robert. And another question from Liz: can you supply your PowerPoint slides so I can send it on to computer science teachers? Which I'm hoping will be a yes.
Yes, of course. Yes, I'll send it to Mark and we can distribute it that way.
Fantastic. And a question from Lindsay Hansford. So, are there likely to be many opportunities for young people with special needs and lower academic qualifications?
Absolutely. The work experience is open to everybody. There's not an interview process for anything like that. They can access that. The innovation days, they are accessible for everybody, and they can be run. We run them locally at the offices when they were open, obviously not so much nowadays, but they can also be run in schools. So yes, it's fully accessible. Yeah, special needs is something that is obviously acutely important to get right, and all of our stuff is accessible to a full range of students, and we specifically make sure that the scaffolding is appropriate for the full wide gamut. And yeah, say have a look at the resources, see for yourself. The proof's in the pudding really is just let them have a play with it and use it judiciously.
Excellent stuff. Cheers, Robert. And I think Sophie just said, can she have your email address? I'm sure you can drop it in the chat or email folks individually on that one.
Yeah, I'll check in the chat.
Excellent, thank you. And also, are any of your innovation days able to be run remotely?
Yes, absolutely. I don't see why not. I mean, we have we can run in. They're very, very flexible. So it really depends on whether you want to do a full day or just a couple of hours. We want usually a minimum of 2 hours is needed, but a full day works better. We've got a full pack of resources. You can run it yourself, or we can run it as well. It's a very, very scalable model. These were designed to be done face to face, obviously, sort of pre-pandemic. But yes, you can do them remotely. Although it's better if they do have access to the microbits specifically, because most of our Innovation Day projects are run on them. So if you're confident all your learners have got them, or you've got a way of distributing them, then that's the snagging point potentially. Although you can access microbits from the NCCE soon. I'm fairly confident they've got a loan system that's being developed where you can borrow them. So as long as you can get the technology out there, then that's a really good way of doing it. Doing it with microbits is better than not doing it with them, obviously.
Good stuff, thank you. And I know that Rachel will be joining us shortly. I was just having a couple of issues in the background. But Katie, a question for you. You talked a lot about the key growth sectors across Norfolk and Suffolk. Why is it important we start telling young people about, and also careers leaders and teachers about key growth sectors in our region?
Yeah, it's really important. As I've highlighted, we have our three main sectors, and also we've got our underpinning sectors as well. But it's so important to get younger people engaged with these sectors and to actually learn just exactly how much opportunity there is and will be in the future, and how those sectors are really going to drive forward and create those jobs. So getting that young engagement is key. And I can give an example. So the energy sector actually goes into schools, primary age actually, and engages with students because they actually see the importance of getting that interest from them at such a young age. And I think most people just think of the energy sector as just engineering, for example, but it's so much wider than that, which must have an interest to more than many. So I think it's really key to get that interest in nice and early.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Are there any further questions just while we're waiting on Rachel to join us? Otherwise, I will say folks are welcome to take sort of a 5-minute comfort break, and we come back for 5:25 if there's no more questions. Just while we're...
Jordan. Hello, Julianne here. We had a message, a question from Catherine Flint regarding the ARM Innovation Days and are they virtual? I'm hoping Rob did answer that by one of the previous questions that was asked. So hopefully, Catherine, that answered your question, but if it doesn't, just let us know. I think it did, so that's lovely. Also, Rachel's having problems with Zoom, and so am I. So I'm trying to go into the meeting to resend her the link, but it's thrown up an error message. I think Zoom may have gone down whilst we're in the middle of this, so we might not get Rachel.
Okay,
Just-
so should we, let's all take a break till 25 past, so about 6 minutes, and then hopefully Rachel will join us. If not, I'm sure we can work something moving forwards. Probably means everybody can leave a little bit earlier. So yeah, let's reconvene in about 5-6 minutes. So we're still having technical issues, so Rachel won't be able to join us. However, I have just seen a question from Sue drop in. Do you feel there may be an issue with some schools, for example, smaller institutions recruiting teachers with required subject specialisms to support some of the growth sectors? Katie, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, can you just repeat that first bit? Did you say some schools?
Yes, so do you feel there may be an issue with some schools, for example, smaller institutions recruiting teachers with the required subject specialisms to support some of the growth sectors?
I mean, to be quite honest, I don't think there will be issues, no, but yeah, it's a really good question. I'm not actually too sure, if I'm honest, if they have lots of issues with getting specialist teachers involved. They may well do. I don't know if Glenn on the line might be able to help answer that one.
Thanks, Katie. We have just recently, there has been the local skills report that's been created by the Skills Advisory Panel, identifying some areas that may be of concern when it comes to recruiting teachers for specialist subjects. That report's just in its draft version at the moment and should be coming out towards the end of February. What I will do is I'll make sure that you're actually sent a copy of that as well. So that you're able to see that. Sorry, that question was from Sue, wasn't it? So Sue, we'll make sure that we've got your email address and we can forward that on to you as well.
Excellent. Cheers, folks. Another question from Louise O'Dwyer. So, and I think this will definitely be for Robert. So please could you tell me when the ARM apprenticeships will be available for the sixth form students to apply for? Looking forward to hearing from you. That's from Louise.
That's a good question. Everything is kind of up in the air because of the pandemic. I know they'll want to implement it as soon as possible, but as and when, it's a bit of a moving feast at the moment, so it's difficult to say. It's just a case of keeping an eye on the website. So I know that team, they want to get it started, but obviously we are working from home at the moment, so we can't even go in the office ourselves. So it's very difficult. I know that they're talking about doing things remotely. As to how that plays out, it's TBC. Just in relation to the previous question about specialist teachers as well, it's certainly a hot topic in computer science. With only like 15% of computer science teachers being specialist at all, typically being either former ICT teachers or pulled in from other subjects, and that's why the National Centre is a really good example of how to do sort of ongoing CPD with teachers that want to transition into computer science, and there's funded training that they offer, and it's really high quality. So if you've got anybody that know anybody that is interested in switching or doing some teaching, or you're short of a specialist teacher and struggling to recruit, contact your local National Centre hub and they can sort of point you in the right direction, because the people do exist. It's just a case of finding the right people.
Excellent. Thanks, Robert.
I was going to just add to that physics has got exactly the same problem as computer science. In fact, actually, the stats are almost identical, including gender balance and number of teachers going in, dropout rates. So there are funds out there to help teachers retrain as physics specialists. Certainly, I think STEM Learning got courses to do that, and the IOP have quite, let's say, generous bursaries for people to retrain as physicists. So I know a few fellow teachers who have done that. So if you're thinking about retraining, it's a good idea. There's loads of opportunities out there. They're screaming for people doing computer science and physics, as you're probably aware.
Good stuff. Cheers, Mark. And we've got another question again for yourself, Robert. Can you send a link to the ARM work experience and innovation days for students in secondary schools? That's from Catherine Flint.
The work experience doesn't have a page yet, because it was filled up this year, and then it got taken down because of the pandemic. But it will appear on the early careers part of the website. The innovation days, that's more informal. Just contact me via email, and we can talk about how best to do that. It's a very flexible beast, so it's sort of explaining it succinctly on the website is difficult. But just contact me directly, and we can talk about how to do that.
Excellent. Thanks, Robert. And we've just got another question from Louise O'Dwyer. So, where would you advise our sixth form students to look for apprenticeships other than the gov.uk apprenticeship site and UCAS apprenticeship vacancies? That would be really useful to hear. Oh, and just to add to that, will there be any ARM apprenticeships advertised this year?
I think there will be. As to when they start, as I say, it's a moving buffet again. In terms of where to look, it's best, well, certainly we advise people to look for the companies that they're interested in, look on their websites directly, you know, like Microsoft, ARM, or the other big tech companies. If they're very interested in the tech space, just go and look there directly. I'm sure that they advertise more widely on the Gov website, but so I know the ARM stuff only exists on arm.com currently and doesn't exist elsewhere yet. Maybe it will in the future, but who knows?
Excellent, thank you. And I think, you know, also look at the places like Iconbeer for Norfolk and Suffolk, and also Apprenticeship Suffolk, I'm sure there's Apprenticeship Norfolk as well, that supports both schools, students, employers with sourcing apprenticeships as well. Have we got any other questions? What are your views on the new T-levels in digital technology? Sorry to keep throwing them at you, Robert, but they tend to be going that way. Do you want to give that one a go?
I'm a big fan. I did a bit of work on these, both the Pearson and the NCFE one, and they are very, very high quality. They're incredibly robust, and to be honest, I think they actually, if you had a student that did a T-level or did the digital T-level, and you compared them to a student that did like A-level computer science, I think the T-level students would be far superior in terms of their skills and applicability into the workplace straight away, just because of the sort of, whilst it's vocational, not in the old-fashioned sense they were vocational, because it's very, very highly technical. The specs are brand new. It uses very, very modern technology, modern approaches, and so yeah, they are fantastic. I think the danger with them is that again, schools and colleges may struggle to deliver them because of the sorts of technology that they require, and also the work placement being because they need to do a sort of work placement for, I think it's a month, I think, or maybe even longer, which might be difficult in certain areas, especially if you're sort of like rural Norfolk or somewhere like that, or where there's no tech companies nearby. But yes, I think they are fantastic, and it should encourage students to do them because they are very, very rigorous. And yeah, you could certainly get a job working in tech companies doing IT and project management and all that sort of stuff with those qualifications. Yeah, I think they'll be highly sought after.
Good stuff.
I'd just like to add, if we are doing a T-level conference in March, so stay tuned for that. So we're hoping we're going to get some key speakers talking about T-levels for both actually employers and for teachers as well.
Excellent. Cheers, Mark. And I've just seen Madeline's message, Robert's email. If you scroll up, you can definitely find it. I've had many questions on that one previously. If not, Madeline, I can send it to you. So, folks, unless there's any other questions, we're going to wrap things up early.
Sorry, it's Julianne.
Oh,
I'm no longer getting an error message when going into other meetings, and I've just let Rachel know that I'm not getting that error message now. So I don't know, and I've asked if she wants to retry, she can, but I don't know if she'll be able to join or not. So I don't know if you want to talk for 5 minutes or you want to end the session. It's entirely up to you.
Folks, unless there's any other questions, I'm keen not to keep you
Okay.
any longer than you need to be, in case we're not able to get Rachel on. No, doesn't look okay. Okay. I know that Glenn will be taking Rachel's presentation to deliver on Friday's session, so don't worry, the content will still be delivered this week. But yes, so we'll wrap up today's session. So huge thank you to our speakers, so Robert Leeman and Katie Snell, talking to us about key growth sectors and also technology over at ARM. I think there's been some fantastic resources shared there as well. Tomorrow, and obviously throughout this week, oh, hang on, I think we have Rachel in the nick of time. So people can't be running towards the glass of wine just yet. Rachel, are you able to hear us, see us?
I can. Hang on one second. Sorry, too many things open in one place. I can.
Happy days. Lovely to see you. Rachel, do you want to kick off your session? So folks, just a brief introduction to Rachel. So Rachel's from the Careers Enterprise Company. Education manager is going to give an overview of what the Careers Enterprise Company does, and also where Ofsted fits into careers as well. So Rachel, over to you.
Why, thank you. I shall firstly attempt to share my screen, and hopefully you'll be able to see it okay. Let's go from the beginning. Is that all okay?
Looks all good to me.
Fantastic, thanks, Jordan. So thank you. As Jordan said, I work with the Careers and Enterprise Company as education manager, and our mission really is to prepare and inspire young people for the fast changing world of work. So for those of you who don't know what we do, our role really is to link schools and colleges to employers and help them to deliver world-class careers support for all young people. And we do this in three main ways. Firstly, building networks, linking schools and colleges to employers and other external careers providers through the enterprise advisor networks and careers hubs. We also provide training, resources and support for careers leaders in schools, special schools and colleges. And we have free online and funded face-to-face training available to support that development, which I'll say a little bit more about later. We also support the implementation of the best practice standard for career support, the Gatsby benchmarks, with tools and targeted funding. And our huge range of resources are being updated constantly with the sole purpose of providing careers leaders with the support that they need to develop the highest quality careers education for young people. Now, on the 21st of January this year, the DFE released its long-awaited white paper, now called Skills for Jobs, Lifelong Learning for Opportunity and Growth. And careers education features really heavily throughout it, but I'd really like to draw your attention to point 103, which states, we want careers education and guidance to be embedded in the life of every school and college. And further than that, it continues by saying, to cement this, we will work with the education sector and business to develop a shared approach to careers education that will support young people to understand the modern workplace and develop the career management skills and attributes that they need to compete in today's labour market. We will equip the teaching profession to support a whole school or college approach to careers education by building careers awareness into every stage of their professional development, from initial training to education leadership. So it's evident throughout the white paper that careers education is going to be really high on the agenda, and we look forward to getting more details through over the coming months. So the main headlines from the white paper are on the slide, and schools, special schools and colleges should continue to work towards the achievement of all 8 benchmarks. But this now also includes the requirement to work with pupils in Year 7. Although it's not exactly clear at the moment how, there will be an increased emphasis on the use of data. This is likely to include transition and NEETs data, not in education, employment or training, as we've seen increased interest in this from Ofsted recently. It's also been made clear in the white paper that Ofsted will be undertaking a thematic review this year of careers education to give an up-to-date assessment of careers guidance and recommendations to improve its practice. And it's now considered so vital to the future of young people and the economic recovery in the UK that careers awareness will also now, as I just said, be built into initial teacher training and education leadership development. Alongside this, just to re-emphasise the importance of careers at the moment, the DFE have also announced a change in the way performance tables will be constructed this year. The key areas for careers education is that second bullet point, how well schools and colleges support their students to their next destination. Although we don't have the exact details of how this is going to be measured, as we're expecting further technical guidance shortly, it's clear that destinations data, quite rightly, is of vital importance to the DFE. So the short, medium and long-term impact of the pandemic on our young people is potentially enormous, and careers education needs to play a central role in that. But what about Ofsted views on careers right now? Well, with Ofsted inspections halted last year, and this year Ofsted's return to full inspections will happen in phases. There's no graded inspections planned before the summer term. What does this mean for careers education? Well, at the end of last year, Ofsted had been making interim visits involving professional conversations with senior leaders. And these visits really focused in on pedagogy, curriculum, and safeguarding. And it seems that these same areas of focus are still really key for Ofsted in their current visits. The information that we've received from Network are that the professional conversations from a careers perspective really have focused around these sorts of questions. How prepared was a school or college during lockdown? How prepared are they for future virtual online learning? What interventions did they and do they have in place for year 11 and 13 to help prevent them becoming NEET? What's the current provision for those same year groups to prevent them slipping through the net? And what alternative ways are schools and colleges looking at experience of work? Now, in order to help senior leaders feel prepared for these sorts of conversations with Ofsted, it's really important that careers leaders keep their senior leaders and governors informed on things like transitions data, preparation for pathways, and support and guidance for particular cohorts of students. Now, when Ofsted returns to normal later in the summer, what should you or careers leaders expect, and what should they be doing to best equip themselves to shine in this situation? Well, under the new education inspection framework that came into place in September 2019, inspectors are required to evaluate these 3 key bullet points. The first, unbiased careers advice, links through to the need to ensure that the school or college is fully meeting the Baker Clause. And I'd just like to stress this is something that's been further highlighted in the white paper that's just come out. So this is obviously an area of concern for the DfE. The other 2 points, particularly the final one, show the expectation that careers education is wider than just the careers programme, and it's a whole school, special school or college approach. Now, careers features in all 4 of the judgment areas, but I'm just going to today pick out 2 for the purposes of time. Firstly, I just wanted to speak about leadership and management. This, for me, really speaks to benchmark 1. Having that clear vision for the careers programme that's aligned with the whole school or college priorities is really key, not only to driving the agenda forward, but also to enable governors, senior leaders and middle leaders to speak knowledgeably about how careers education fits into the whole school or college life. The new framework really raises the importance of that whole school or college approach to careers and the need for it to be fully embedded in development plans and vision statements. It's even more important that the intent behind careers education and personal development is highly visible and really understood by all stakeholders. Now, if this is something that you feel you'd like further support with, we do have a series of recorded webinars on Benchmark 1 available on our resource directory, which I'll highlight later on. The other major part of the new framework as far as careers is concerned sits within the personal development judgment. And this is really asking schools and colleges to demonstrate how they support the development of a student's character. So how can you demonstrate that at each stage of education, you prepare learners for future success and their next steps? So at each key point or key stage, what are the key careers learning outcomes? There were a lot of keys in that sentence, weren't there? What do you need your young people to know, understand, and be able to do at each level? And how is this communicated to your staff? What happens beyond the curriculum? How does the careers programme support the curriculum beyond the academic? How does it support the learner's broader development? Now, as you know, the major difference under the new framework is this triangulation approach, where Ofsted will look for evidence of the application of the careers policy and programme. Is what they see on the website, what they hear from senior leaders or from the careers leader directly, actually reflected in what they see and hear when they spend time in the school or college? The key is that at each stage of education, the provider needs to prepare all learners for future success in their next steps, both in terms of curriculum knowledge and life choices. And Ofsted want to be really sure that you've truly considered your intent and measured your impact. Can you clearly explain why your curriculum, including the careers programme, has been designed in the way that it has? And how do you know the impact that your work is having? How does feedback shape future developments? So it's not just about ticking boxes and providing Ofsted with a huge file to show all the things that you've done. It's about that quality of the offer to each and every young person, and about each and every member of staff and young person being able to explain what they receive in terms of careers education through their time at the school or college. So it's really key that you can see and hear all about careers education throughout the school or college. Now, benchmark 4 is perhaps the best way, particularly in the current circumstances, that we can ensure that each and every young person has access to careers education. With drop-down days and face-to-face encounters being really challenging again this year, embedding careers into the curriculum is of even greater importance for Ofsted, but more importantly for the young people that you work with. So we've devised a new model to support the thinking around benchmark 4 with 3 different approaches and an accompanying guide which is filled with resources and support to help you deliver on this. I'm briefly going to explore just one of those 3 approaches today now, but I would again recommend that you access the recordings of our benchmark 4 webinars that we led recently, again available on our resource directory for more information, and also the modelling toolkit that goes alongside this. So the first level really, if you like, is our foundation approach. And this is something that we advocate all careers leaders ensure is in place. We sometimes jump over this foundation stage in a bid to try and get as many employers involved in lessons as we can. But quite often those opportunities have quite limited groups and smaller cohorts of students. And what Ofsted really want to see is an entitlement for each and every young person. So in this model, all subject teachers are highlighting the relevance of careers, the relevance of their subject rather to careers. The relationship between their subject, future jobs and skills is really clearly outlined, and students are supported to understand the potential pathways from subjects. Now, Ofsted really want to see, as I say, that entitlement for each and every student. So this foundation level is really key, and it doesn't require any employer engagement at all for it to be successful. There are ways of delivering this for every child without having that employer engagement. Obviously, that's the next stage up in our programme, having employers engaged. So do have a look at those webinars to find out a little bit more about this. So how can we, the Careers and Enterprise Company, really help you? What is out there to support you right now? Well, firstly, hot off the press, just came out this week, is the launch of our first resources from our My Learning, My Future series. And this will support you with the delivery of benchmark 4 at that foundation level I just described. So the aim of these resources really is to engage students in curriculum learning by supporting curriculum staff. And we're hoping to support staff to highlight the relevance of their subject to future careers and opportunities, and to support students to understand the pathways from each different subject through to future careers and opportunities. These resources will also highlight to students how they're developing essential skills in each subject and set curriculum teaching and learning in the context of the world of work. It identifies extracurricular, extension and employer engagement opportunities in order to enhance student engagement in each curriculum area. So each subject includes a teacher inspiration guide with resource, support and suggested activities, a student-facing slide deck with guidance notes, and a Key Stage 3 homework task as well, all ready to deliver either face-to-face or in remote learning situations. So there are also subject-specific careers in the curriculum resources. That's another stage in our Benchmark 4 model. And these will include links to a suite of resources that are being developed at the moment in collaboration with AET Trust in English, history, maths, modern foreign languages, science and geography. And they will be available for Key Stage 3 and 4 and will be curriculum based, set in the context of the world of work. The first one, English, has already been developed in collaboration with Tesco and is now available on our resource directory for you to access and have a look at. If you haven't already received the links to these curriculum resources, it may well be because you're not currently receiving our Careers Leader newsletter. So if you haven't, please do sign up for it. There's a link to it from this slide. We send out regular updates and resources directly to those who've signed up. So there's usually 2 per term, but because we've brought forward the release of our Benchmark 4 resources, at the moment you're getting 1 a week with the new resources as they come out just for the next couple of weeks. To complement this, we also have bulletins that are designed specifically to support head teachers, principals and governors, where we distill down the key points from latest government papers and strategy to really help education leaders make informed choices about careers provision. Please do encourage the right people in your institution to register to receive these termly bulletins. So they're only 3 times a year, but they will hopefully save an awful lot of time and support careers leaders with the role that they're doing. For those colleagues who are based in a college, we also have Connect, the college careers community, which is a virtual community for colleges. It was created by us in partnership with the Association of Colleges to engage with and respond to the differing needs of the college sector. And it's really a forum where people can share best practice and resource. I've mentioned on several occasions our resource directory, which is the one-stop shop for all things careers related. It has hundreds of resources, some developed by us, some by careers leaders, schools and colleges in our network, and some resources by employers and providers. It's completely searchable with resources for students, for staff, governors, parents, different key stages, lesson plans, all sorts. And if you haven't taken a moment to explore it, I would really encourage you to do so. And that's where you'll find, excuse me, all the links through to Benchmark 1, Benchmark 4 webinars and so on, and the modelling toolkit that I've mentioned already. If you're not aware, we already offer free online training for careers leaders and anyone actually who's involved in the shaping of careers education in your schools or colleges. It's a flexible modular program that can be dipped in and out of to suit your needs. So please do feel free to sign up for that. There's no obligation to get it completed in a certain amount of time, and there's very limited amounts of work that are needed to be done. It's just really an informative tool. And if you did want to then take that a little further, we do have fully funded training for careers leaders. So there's no cost in terms of taking the course itself, and then on completion there's a £1,000 bursary for your school or college. At the moment we've been given another 650 places. A lot of those are full. I think we've got a couple of hundred of places left, and we only now have until the 31st of March to register and contract with your chosen training provider. That ranges from non-accredited courses right through to level 7 courses. We do have limited places, as I say, so if you are interested, I would recommend you sign up to find out a little bit more sooner rather than later, so that you're on that list. We have we have at the moment been given the nod that we will get more funding to continue this in the future, but at the moment that isn't set up, so these are the only ones that are available at the moment between now and the 31st of March. We've had over 1,300 careers leaders already complete the training, with 99% reporting that they were able to review and evaluate their careers programme much more efficiently, compared with 74% before the training. And all courses are currently available online, as you know, in the current situation, and can be provided flexibly to suit your working requirements at the moment. And finally, sorry about the whistle-stop tour, but with the late start, I'm talking very quickly. We would like to encourage schools to sign up to Compass Plus if you haven't already heard of that. This is an upgrade to the standard Compass Classic that links a school's MIS system, such as SIMS, to enable student level data on careers education and guidance during their time in school. So it's a really exciting time for careers at the moment, with the increasing focus on the importance of supporting each and every student to make those informed choices about their futures, to secure positive and sustained destinations. And the Careers and Enterprise Company are here to support, and we're always happy to receive emails via the address shown on this slide. If you've got any questions, any queries, any suggestions of things that you would like to see, please do get in touch with us. Apologies for the rapidness of that, but thank you very much, and I hope you found that useful. I should just stop screen sharing now. Thanks, Jordan.
Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. And I think that gave a fantastic summary of everything that the Careers and Enterprise Company is doing at the moment, and the support on offer. I just want to ask sort of, I know we've only got 5 minutes, so if people have got questions, feel free to drop them in. But I suppose a question for all of our guests, you know, we've got some fantastic careers leaders and staff from schools joining us this evening. What's one thing that you would say to them to take away from this evening's CPD sessions that can affect some change in their school around careers? Rachel, you've just been, so I'll come back to you, but I'll go to Robert, Katie, and then over to you, Rachel. So one thing in terms of advice you'd like to give to careers leaders this evening that they can go back to their school and affect some change around careers. If Robert is still with us.
I am. I think my advice would be to, if you've got students who are particularly keen on anything to do with computer science, digital technology, anything like that, is to check out early careers on arm.com. That'd be my plug.
Good stuff. Cheers, Robert. And Katie?
Yeah, I guess really the one thing that I would say is for students really to kind of get really engaged with our sector groups where they can. And just try and learn a little bit about what they do and what opportunities there are out there for them.
Fantastic. And Rachel?
I think the first thing to say is it's evident from the new white paper that the work that careers leaders are already doing is having a massive impact, and that the DFE are really recognising what a difference careers leaders are making. So please keep up the brilliant work. And the other thing is definitely the shout out for our new benchmark 4 resources. The feedback we've had so far has been absolutely overwhelming. It's a really easy way of you just speaking to the curriculum leads and saying, here's something that can really help to embed it into all of your lessons. So please do take a look at them.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel. And just got a question in. So GATS benchmark 4, My Learning / My Future English. Is this resource appropriate for SEND students?
I personally have not spent long enough to look through it all to know exactly how we could adapt that or how it could be adapted. The standard resource that is in the booklet is all aimed at Key Stage 3. So I would hope that it would be accessible to many students with SEND. Have a good look through it. If you do have any recommendations or anything that you would like to see altered, we would be really keen to develop this. We had to bring this forward quite quickly to try and get it out as quickly as we could. So we haven't spent as much time developing the SEND perspective as we would have liked. So if there are particular points, please do get in touch with us and let us know what would be useful.
Excellent stuff. I haven't seen any other questions come up, and I appreciate it. It is 6 o'clock. Rachel, I'm so glad you're able to join us on that last session as well. Huge thank you to Katie for giving an overview of our fantastic sectors and brilliant employers and work that's been going on here at the LEP. And of course, Robert, I think been inundated with questions around all the brilliant work you're doing at ARM. So huge thank you for everybody who's joined this evening, both in panelists and attendees as well. Obviously, we have got a session of brilliant speakers coming up for the rest of the week, all starting at the same time. Please go on there, register. We've got different sectors, amazing employers. Tomorrow, just looking at the tech session. So welcome from Glenn, the Enterprise Advisor Network Careers Hub Manager. And we've got Tim Robinson, the Chief Exec of Techies, joining us. Carol Fletcher from B2 heads up a lot of their fantastic education work. And Sam Rawlings from Adplay. And again, similar format, Q&A, throw in the questions. So yeah, hoping you can all join us. If you need any links, feel free to email myself, Glenn, Julianne, or Mark. But yeah, have a lovely evening, and we look forward to seeing you throughout the week as well. Thanks.